Over 10 years ago, I created a list, and it was a list of goals I had for my life, a mix of experiences, things I wanted to achieve, people I wanted to connect with, and a few items that I wanted to purchase. I created these goals so that I could stay focus on what matters. And it really was a reflection of my values at the time. And since it's been over 10 years now, coming up on 11 years in August, I thought it might be time to check in and see how I'm doing on those goals. Welcome to Real Fi Talk. I'm Aaron. On this channel, we talk about the ups and downs of financial independence, how to achieve it, and how to sustain it. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe and share. Also, leave a comment below. I'll read and respond to all of them. All right, let's get started. Okay, the list. And I made this in August 2015, and I believe that the list was in some sort of priority order at the time. At least things that were top of mind went first. So I thought we would just go down the list today. There's 23 things, and I'll move pretty quickly through it. But I wanted to do an update and see how I'm doing on achieving these goals and whether or not these are the right goals that I should be focused on at this point. So to start with, the first goal was to be able to fund college education for my two boys. My first son is about ready to graduate from college, and I was able to save up in a 529 for him. And my second son is about a year away still from college, and I'm still putting aside money in the 529, but it's looking pretty good, and I think both kids will get a chance to go to college, which I'm really excited for. I see it as an investment in them, and it was something I wanted to prioritize. And the second thing on my list was to retire at 60 or earlier. So as you know, I'm not working right now. I'm taking a long-term sabbatical. I'm not sure if I'll go back to work. Some people might call me early retired. But either way, I'm financially independent, and I feel good about achieving this goal. I'm in a position where I don't have to work, and this goal of retiring by 60 seems very realistic, and some might say that it's been achieved already. I don't know that I would, though. The third thing that I wrote down was buy a vacation home or some sort of timeshare. So this is a goal. I'm not going to be focused on buying a timeshare. I think there are situations where if you buy a timeshare that's used and has a fixed amount of years left on it that allows you to exit, you might be able to get a good deal. But if you're buying a new timeshare, that's just a really terrible investment. They're really hard to get out of, and I don't know anyone that really looks at the timeshare purchase decision and thinks they would do it again. The vacation home is something we came pretty close to. We looked at some small condos in a few different warm weather environments during the COVID time, but decided not to pull the trigger on that. And primarily because the rental rules, we were going to Airbnb it, and the rental rules in a lot of different cities and municipalities have gotten more strict on that. So no vacation home, and at least right now, we'll probably remove that from the list. The fourth one we put down was to travel to Hawaii. It's a place where we really love going as a family. We love the warm weather, the culture, the food, the beaches. And it's something that we enjoyed and probably did a little bit more of when our boys were younger. And the goal was to be able to set aside a travel fund to at least go to Hawaii once a year. And I think this one, we're on our way to achieving this goal, but it's a little bit less of a priority for us right now. We do have a vacation fund, though, and a travel fund that we've set aside in our budget. So I guess you could say we've achieved this goal as well. The fifth one that I have here is to own a motorcycle. So I've always loved scooters, and I've had old Vespas, and I like to work on them in the past. I've had newer scooters, and I ended up buying a motorcycle. I bought a used Triumph Bonneville in the last 10 years. I only kept it for a year, though. Every time that I would take it out, it was a little scary to ride on the roads, and decided that my health and my life was a little bit more important. No judgment to those who own motorcycles. It just wasn't for me. The next on the list was to be able to give money to churches and charities, and this is something that's really important to my family, and do it in a scaled way. This is something, and so I wasn't aware of donor advised accounts, but it's something that I've since set up, and that allows us to take assets that have appreciated, move into the donor advised account. You get some tax benefits from it, and then you can distribute those funds at any time to the charities of your choice. So that's something we're doing and would like to do more of here in the future. The other one on the goal list was to own up to 4 cars. And this one seemed a little bit silly, but at the time I had 2 boys, myself, my wife, so there was 4 of us. And this one we have not achieved. We have two cars, and I'm actually quite proud of that we've been able to get by with 2. And maybe we'll add a third in the future, but right now 4 cars is out of the question. The other thing we were going to do was bring natural gas to our house and switch out all of our appliances to this natural gas. We have an older home. At the time, this seemed really important. I think we had oil heat. And instead, we put in an electric heat pump and decided not to pull the natural gas in and just kind of go off of electricity. And I don't think anything will change on that soon. It seems like a lot of people are starting to sour on natural gas as well. So we'll be sticking with electricity for now. A fund just to make sure that we could handle any upkeep on the home, fix any decks, gutters, do any landscaping. We did a number of projects on the house in the last 10 or 11 years, and we were able to fund that. So I would call this goal accomplished, but I think that it is important to continue to set aside money for any home upkeep. Homes are expensive, and an argument can be made for rentals when you consider all the property taxes, the upkeep of roofs, electrical systems, windows, you name it. There's always something to be worked on a home. The other goal I established was to create a fund for kids' sports and activities. And this is something that I wanted to make sure that we prioritized when they were younger, and we were able to achieve that. And both my boys were able to play sports of their choice, were involved with music, and I'm happy we were able to fund that for them. The next goal was more focused on hospitality, hosting parties for friends, and we've definitely done that through the years. Maybe not as many anymore, but around the holiday time, we always host a small gathering for our friends, and we try to get family over for different events. We had mothers over recently for Mother's Day, but I would say in the future would like to do more hosting of parties for friends in the future and for family. Establish a 6-month emergency fund. Yes, that's something that I did. I did it pretty early on. I've talked about that in previous videos. When I met with that accountant years ago, who kind of gave us a few different things to focus on when we were getting our financial future in order, or at least trying to. And we did establish a 6-month emergency fund. So I think about that a little bit differently today in terms of my assets, but at the time we were able to set that aside. The next on the list was to get an RV and then to figure out how to store that RV. We have not got the RV. And I know people feel differently about RVs. Some people love them and use them. I've had family members who have owned them, and they're beautiful, but they often just sit there, and they can be big, and then you've got to pay for storage. So we didn't get an RV. We're open to it in the future, and we might try renting an RV to maybe go down into the canyons in Utah or do some sort of coastal trip, but no plans to purchase an RV right now. Next on the list was something around the house again. So we wanted to clean up and kind of redo the garage, maybe put in a new floor, put in new shelving. And we've cleaned up our garage, but haven't done anything fancy with it. So it stores things, it's functional, but that's about it right now. Upgrade our shed. We have a little garden shed in our backyard. I didn't build this shed, but last summer, after I stopped working, I took it upon myself to rebuild the roof of the shed, and it took me about a good week. I didn't know what I was doing, so going to Home Depot almost every day, watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I was able to upgrade the roof on the shed. So I feel pretty good about that. Next on the list was to get my ankle and shoulder fixed. So I've had multiple surgeries through the years on my ankles, on my shoulders, and some of the surgeries worked really well, and some of them less so. I did get my shoulder fixed. I did not get my ankle fixed. So ankle is still something that I deal with. I've got arthritis in it from some previous surgeries. I won't go into too much detail. It's probably already too much, but taking care of my health is something that I've really been focused on the last 6 to 9 months post work. And these are just things I was realizing when I created this list almost 11 years ago. Okay, the next on the list was to figure out how to reduce taxes and figure out my portfolio's allocation. I think I've accomplished that. I spent a lot of time on that over the last couple of years on how to have the right portfolio, especially when you're no longer working. It's still work in progress, but I have a good idea of what I want it to look like, and I understand taxes a lot more than I did. The next on the list was to figure out health insurance and then just insurances in general, and both of those have been achieved as well. I went onto the ACA for my health insurance. I'm still using Cobra though for my dental and vision, at least for a few more months. And that seems to be working out pretty well for us. In terms of insurances, last year, I think it was around the same time that I stepped away from work, I looked at all the insurances that we had and priced out car insurance, homeowners insurance, umbrella insurance, and put it under one company. And I think we have better insurance, and it's a little less expensive as well. The next thing on the list was just to figure out kids' cell phones. So at the time, I think my boys were around 8 and 11, or maybe 8 and 12, and we had to figure out what we were going to do around smartphones for them. So we came up with a plan. We had some limited service cell phones for a while, and now, especially my oldest, both of them are older now, and like a lot of kids, they have iPhones. But at the time, we had to figure that out. We had to figure out content, how much we were going to monitor it. And I don't know that we got that one right, but we definitely watched what they were purchasing, and all the purchases went through our phones. And I'm sure there are, probably people that have approached this and done it better than we did, but we did the best we could at the time around content. On the list was to do something entrepreneurial. So it probably took some time, and I guess you could say that this would be entrepreneurial, creating these YouTube videos. Also, the next one was more outdoor activities, and related to being an entrepreneur, I became a baseball umpire. So that's not necessarily building a business or a company, but it's outdoors, doing something independently or with a partner, and I really enjoy doing that. The next thing on the list, and we're getting to the end here, was to support for older relatives. And I wrote this one down because I knew my parents were getting older. I had grandparents that were passing around 10, 11 years ago, and I didn't really know what it would mean to support them. I at least now know what their plans are and how I can support them. And we'll see what the future holds in terms of how much more support I need to provide for them. But so far, that's something I haven't had to do, at least financially support them. But I do try to call both of my parents and have a conversation with them maybe every other day, or at least a couple times a week, just kind of regularly to engage them. And last on the list was to visit some family members that live in international locations. And I have not met this goal. I've got an uncle who lives in Southeast Asia, and a brother-in-law who lives in Europe, and I have not personally visited either one of them, and I'd like to do it in the future. So there's my goal list. Have you made similar goal lists? If not, I'd encourage you to do it. Goal lists are great. It gives you something to look forward to in the future. It helps you to establish what your values are, and it just really gives you something to look forward to and to track against. Again, if you like this content, please share it and please subscribe. Leave a comment below. Have a great day.